We encourage you, especially if you are new to this, or especially if you are one of the many who is complaining that you've been doing the work, but what you want isn't coming. So if you have been doing the work and you feel that your work isn't paying off for you, and so you think you're doing something wrong, or you think the laws that we teach are messed up in some way, which they're not, they're perfect. Start with subjects that you have more ease about already. When you pick a subject, a desire that you've been carrying around for a while, and you have been taking score for quite a long time, and your score taking says, it's not coming, it's not working. Where is he? Where's the money? Where's the business? Where's the ideas? Where's my book deal? Where's my music deal? If that's the way you feel, then your definiteness of purpose is counterproductive to you because you are arguing for your limitations more than you are believing them. If you teach yourself that the laws are valid and that the process works by choosing a subject that you don't have so much resistance practiced, the universe will deliver to you, and then you will have more trust. You wanted to go to sleep, but you couldn't quite go to sleep, and your mind wouldn't shut down, and it kept reminding you of something else, and this thought led to this, 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 until all of a sudden you remembered that there was some program on your television that you really wanted to see, and if you'd gone to sleep as you had intended an hour or two before, you would not have remembered, you would have missed your program. So you ask, did my inner being bother me with this thought and bother me with this thought and bother me with this thought until there was enough room within my thinking process for me to remember something that mattered to me? And the answer to that is yes. That's what the path of least resistance is. Your inner being knows what you want. Your inner being knows what you want and where you are vibrationally in a relationship to it. Your inner being knows what you want, and where you are in physical relationship to it. And your inner being is guiding you through your path of least resistance. Now, what are we saying to you? We're saying to you that you have all kinds of resistance that's keeping you from finding the things along your path that you want. And we're also saying to you, that's okay. Because it doesn't matter how much resistance you have along your trail. If you know the resistance is natural, and you know that your inner being knows what you want, and you know that your inner being knows where you are, and you know that your inner being is calling you toward it, then in time you will have trust that no matter what, you will find your way. And in the process, you may begin to notice that you really don't want the most direct path to the outcome that you're seeking. You're arguing with us about that too. Oh, just take me to it. But really, you want the journey. You want the learning. You want the understanding. You want the getting a real sense of how it all works. You want the satisfaction of closing the gap between not having something and having something, by not knowing something and knowing something, by not being somewhere and being somewhere. It's really fun to close that gap. So we appreciate so much your acknowledgement that life showed you what you wanted. In other words, you gave us an instruction on step 3, which is really the only step that you need instruction about. How to chill, how to relax, most of all, how to trust, how to expect. So many of you have memories of something that happened before. And we want you to know that we're not asking you to trust the untrustable. We're not asking you to expect bullies to be nice to you. We're not asking you to be ridiculous in your thoughts and think that that person who's never said a nice thing to you in his whole life is now going to start being nice to you. That's not what we're talking about. It goes along this line. Esther would say, oh, people are mean. And Jerry would say, mean people are mean. And then they would laugh, because Jerry was wanting Esther to remember that there's a lot of everything out there, and that if you get fixated on injustices or meanness or bullies, or if you continue to recall and defend past wars with people or with ideas, you may very well be keeping active within yourself the battle that you could leave behind, you see. And so, again, we're talking about that split energy. We like you to trust the humans that you're surrounded by. But start with something easier. Start with your inner being, who has never let you down, who has never thought a mean thought about you, who has never thought anything other than that you can do whatever you choose, and that you are worthy and capable and blessed. We want you to find a way. Sometimes you can meet a physical mentor who has learned to be that way. They've found alignment with who they are. They're tuned in, tapped in, turned on much of the time. When they hold you as their object of attention, you feel better for being in their awareness because they feel good and they're focused upon you. That's nice. Watch for people like that, but don't depend on them, because they move around and it's not their job to be indefinitely focused upon you. But it is the job of your inner being. Your inner being's job is to be indefinitely, meaning forever, meaning always, meaning in every moment, aware of you and loving you and confident in who you are. So when we say start with something easier, some of you argue, well, Abraham, that's not exactly easier because I've never met my inner being. I can't see my inner being. I'm taking your word for it that I have an inner being. We're a good reflection or representation of your inner being, but we are not your inner being in the specific way that you want to know your inner being. So you come to know your inner being as you feel through your emotions, the mix of emotions that you have in any moment in time. When you feel insecure, that's a way of knowing your inner being, because your inner being feels different than that. That's why that insecurity feels bad to you. So you're capable of extrapolating or coming to an awareness or figuring out. You're capable of figuring out if insecurity feels like this, that it must be because the larger part of me feels different. When you're angry, that feels awful because your inner being isn't. So isn't there a way for you to feel angry and sort of kind of know what the absence of that anger might feel like? To get closer to the feeling of what is the opposite of anger? We've not done this before. Let's play with this. So, fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. So, get a whiff of those emotions for a little bit, and then and call it bottom half of the scale because it's where the tilt is in your fulcrum. So, if those are you focused in a way that is depriving you of your connection to your inner being, and you can imagine for a moment, don't get heavy into it, how those emotions feel, then what do you think your inner being feels rather than fear? Well-being, safe. What do you think your inner being feels if grief is you pinching yourself off from your inner being? then what do you think is the emotion? What is the emotion that your inner being must be feeling in order for you to feel grief? No separation. No separation between you and your loved one who is dearly departed. No separation between your inner being's knowledge that well-being can be yours. Depression. What do you think your inner being feels? If you feel depression and it's vivid, what does it mean? It means that you're focused in a way that your inner being is not. Where must your inner being be focused, and what must be the emotion that your inner being is feeling? Or what would be the emotion that you would feel if you were focused where your inner being is focused while you are feeling depression? You're getting the sense of this. Not depression, wholeness, oneness. Let's move up just a little bit, up to insecurity. Insecurity, jealousy. Let's put those together. Insecurity, jealousy. So imagine that you're feeling some insecurity and jealousy. Feels awful because your inner being isn't feeling that. What's your inner being thinking? What's your inner being feeling? What would you be feeling if you were on the other end of the stick? What would you be feeling if it weren't insecurity? What's on the other end? Security. What would you be feeling if it were not jealousy? You'd feel hopeful, maybe, optimistic, positive expectation. You're getting the sense of what we're talking about. You could take every emotion on the emotional scale, and you can know that if you're feeling any of those negative emotions, you can trust that your inner being is feeling something very different, because if your inner being were not feeling something very different, you wouldn't feel that terrible way. So you can figure it out, and you can come to trust your inner being, and you can come to make those emotions that feel better be your definiteness of purpose, your definite intention, your point of focus. You could, rather than saying, I want $500,000 by such a date, or I want to meet the love of my life by such a date, or I want, instead of those things that you feel are tangible, you could say, I want to feel happy at my work. I want to feel the sense of security in the dollars that are flowing to me. You are a vibrational being that the law of attraction is matching with vibrational equivalency. And the law of attraction never makes a mistake. But emotions are pre-manifestational. The emotion you feel is your indicator of where you're headed in terms of manifestation. If you keep focusing in the way you're focusing. But you can change it just by saying things to yourself, general things like, okay, there's a process. There are universal laws. They are definable. Abraham has defined them. I have guidance. My emotions tell me. Friends, you have no logical reason to go on year after year after year feeling emotions that feel terrible. It is only a lack of understanding, which we're feeling in that gap today, or a lack of willingness to focus. Relax, have fun, and everything will come. That's a decision. Does that sound like hard work? Does that sound like something that you need to struggle with?